Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Shelf Book Talk for Book Lovers. I'm Elizabeth Nelson here again with Kay Johnson. And Kay, what have you been reading?
Not a darn thing. No.
I don't think I believe that at all.
Well, you know, it's summer.
Yes.
And summer is always a great time for beach books.
Yes.
And I am reading a series right now called Sea Breeze Summer. But I'm not sure that that's actually... Sea Breeze, I think, is in each of the 8 books in the series.
Sure.
But I don't know that... I'm on book number 2.
Okay.
And they're by a gal named Jan Moran, M-O-R-A-N.
Mm-hmm.
And they're good. It's about a woman named Ivy who's in her 40s. She's got 2 grown daughters, and her husband falls over dead. And when she goes to look at the estate, she discovers that he's cleaned out all the money and bought a house in California on the beach that he was trying to get rezoned to build a high-rise resort. And she knew nothing about it. And so the town is near where she grew up.
Okay.
And so she and her sister, who dumped her boyfriend, decide they'll go check this all out, and they're going to go see her parents and all that good stuff. And anyway, they get there and find out, well, he had a girlfriend, too, that he kept bringing. So all these people in this town dislike her on sight because of all the money they had to spend for the lawsuit against her husband when he wanted to rezone this historic house. And so, and the mayor happens to be someone she had a big crush on in high school.
Of course.
And she didn't know he had a big crush on her in high school.
Goodness.
And so it's all this reconnecting and all this interesting stuff. So Amazon makes it easy. You can buy all 8 books for like $26.
That's nice.
But I'm holding off on one at a time in case they lose some momentum.
Then you're not committed to have to finish them
That's
all.
pretty much the way so I was looking for something different because I'd been reading so many mysteries, and I thought one day, this is really sick. I mean, I read about dead people all the time. Is that even healthy? So I switched it up and went for the summer beach read. Okay. So what are you reading?
I finished, it was a new book that came out in March, and it's called The Club by Ellery Lloyd. And this was one of those Reese Witherspoon book club. I don't know. It had the big sticker on it. I just had heard a lot about it. So there's this there's these really exclusive like vacation resorts that are called The Home, and then it's wherever they're located.
Okay.
And so the newest and as the guy builds them all, they get more and more advanced. And so this newest one he's trying to do is they've bought an entire island. And then, so the weekend of the opening is the big launch party, and the Friday night afterward, the guy that built it, they can't find, and then when the people are eating at this restaurant that lets them see under the water in the channel, they notice that there's a giant Land Rover flipped up with dead bodies in it. So it becomes it's not so much a closed room mystery as it is a closed island mystery.
Yes.
And, so you have a lot of different people. You have some of the guests that they're talking to. Some of the people are workers. And it goes back and forth between what's going on leading up to the murder. And then because it's a super exclusive resort with all these famous people coming to stay at it, you have it's like a magazine article that's explaining what all happened and having people chime in. So I really liked it. It's more of one of those... unreliable narrator with several twists and turns, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a good, quick kind of a summary read.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's kind of in that category. It's great because it's just a one-off. It doesn't leave you on a cliffhanger having to wait a year for another book, which I think is nice for some people to have occasionally.
Yes, I agree.
But it can be really hard, I think right now, at least to find a standalone book. It feels like everything is a series.
Everything is a series. And Amazon, being Amazon, always posts the next book in the series in case you want to get ahead.
But they're not all on Kindle Unlimited. Only like the first or the first two
Oh, yeah,
are,
no,
and then they
no.
want you to buy the rest of them.
Or they don't even sometimes put the first one up. They'll do like the fourth one or something.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Louise Penny, though, put up like the first 5 of her Gamache books.
Yeah.
And so I reread those because of that.
Yeah, I had one that the first book in the series was $1.99, but then they wanted $15 for the rest of
Yeah,
the series,
and
and
then
I was
you-
like, well, we're gonna hang on to these for a little bit. We'll either get them from the library or we'll come back and look again in a couple months.
So do you like your Kindle Unlimited?
I do. Yes.
It's the best thing ever.
It is great, except when you have library books that come, and then you're more interested in reading those than the library books. But Tom always laughs at me because I always am like, I have to go to the library, and he's like, don't you have enough books here you have to read? And I'm like, yeah, but the problem is I've forgotten about the library books after I request them because it usually takes a couple weeks to get them.
At least.
So I read other stuff. But yeah, what else have you been reading?
I downloaded a book for my mom and your grandmother called The Cafe on the Edge of the World, a story about the meaning of life.
Okay.
And it's by a guy named John Strelecki, Strelecy.
Okay.
And anyway, my mom said it's really, really good, but it's about people who don't live in the present, but they're planning like what they're going to do in
Okay.
retirement.
Oh yeah,
You know, it's for people who
planning for what's to come.
like I'm really lucky because I have a job that allows me to do what I do best, which
Yeah.
is writing. And I don't ever have to retire because I'm doing what I like. But many people don't have that. And so they don't live in the moment, they live in the future.
Okay.
And the problem with that is you might die. Or
Yeah.
your partner might die, or you may have a health issue. All of a sudden, all these plans go up in smoke. And so the idea is that you somehow have to incorporate tomorrow into
Okay.
today.
Yeah.
And so I haven't read it yet, but my mom says it's really good.
Okay.
And she actually texted me a whole bunch of stuff today about it when she was reading it.
Oh,
and
good.
she said, let's see. People spend their whole life preparing for what they want to do instead of living their life.
Yeah.
And so she said the story is so interesting. Many people spend most of their lives working at a job so they can do what they want when they retire. How lucky you are working at what you like doing instead of some job that then someday you can start writing and then much of your life will be over.
Okay.
And that's really true.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that. And I feel bad when the people say that now they're going to do this or now they're going to do that.
Yeah.
When I encourage people to try and incorporate what they love now.
Yeah.
When I worked at the senior center, I can't tell you the number of people who, saved literally every dime during their life to retire and travel and do all these things. Their partner dies, or has a medical issue, and all of a sudden, everything's gone. All the dreams are gone.
Yeah.
And so I really encourage you. My bit of daily wisdom, live for today, because
Yeah.
nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. So what else are you reading?
I read by Robert Thorogood, The Marlow Murder Club.
Oh, good.
So the Marlow Murder Club, Marlow is a little town in England because all murders happen in small towns in England.
Yes, that's true.
And our protagonist, her name is Judith Potts. She's a 77-year-old who her job is setting crosswords. So she's the one that lays out the pattern and comes up with all the clues. And one night, after it gets way too hot because she doesn't have central air because she lives in this big old crazy house that her aunt left her, and she's kind of an eccentric, so she decides she's going to go swimming in the Thames, which is right out the backyard. So she jumps in the river and is swimming around and overhears her neighbor being murdered.
Does she see it?
She hears it. She doesn't
Ooh.
see it because he's got a wall in the back of his house or
Okay.
something. And because she's Judith, and because it wouldn't be a mystery story, she decides that she's the one who's going to solve the murder because the police aren't doing it well enough. And on the way, she drags in two people with her. She's got brings in Susie, who is the dog walker, and Bex, or Becca, who is the wife of the local vicar, to help her solve what happened
are
to
these
this
called
friend.
the dog walking murders?
No, this is it's called the Marlow Murder Club. That's the first one. The first one's the Marlow Murder Club, and then there's a second one coming out end of this year, which is Death Comes to Marlow.
Okay.
So they're trying to solve the murder of her neighbor, and other people start dying, of course, because you can't just have one murder in a small English town that needs to be solved. I thought it was pretty good. There were times where it felt like the author was trying to hurry you on to the next step, and then it would kind of drag back as like somebody else would figure out what she'd already done. So it was like the police detective or detective chief inspector or whatever they are in England.
So did you think there was a pacing problem?
Kind of. It kind of felt like at the first few chapters, it feels like Judith is coming across everything really, really quick. And then it got to one point, and then it was like, oh, well, how do we get her past this point? And then it was like, oh, we're just going to murder somebody else. And then we'll have them solve this for a little while we figure it out. But I think it's well written. I'm not sure. I haven't read anything else by this author. So this was my first intro to him, but he also wrote the Death in Paradise series.
Okay,
Which is Aslan Kennedy is the main character. So it looks like that's another series by him. And those all take place in the Caribbean, so I don't know anything else. I haven't read any of those yet, but the lady at the bookstore that I ordered the Marlow Murder Club from had read the other series and said that, oh, I didn't know he wrote another series. And I was like, well, I didn't know he wrote the first series, so it all works out okay. But yeah, again, it's a quick little jaunt across the pond story, as there's many, many, many of them you can read from.
And I love them because I'm all about the weekend.
I know. Well, and then I get confused sometimes because I'll think they're going to take place overseas, and then they take place in like New York, and I'm like, well, this isn't quite what I was expecting, but it works great. But you expect the little towns over there, not over here.
Yeah, I'm all about the country house murder mystery weekend party deal, and so I have been reading. Georgette Heyer is an author who is really known for Regency romances, but she really did like 12 or 15 country house murder mysteries, and I've read quite a few of them. Like there's A Blunt Instrument, and then there's one called Duplicate Death. That one's during Bridge. And in Heart, let's see. But they're good, and they're No Wind to Blame.
Okay.
They're good, and they're quaint because of the language.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep that in mind when you read them, because they're English, first of all. Second of all, they are quaint. You know, people are nicer then. People are more... In England, they were very caste-driven. So everybody knows their place. They know how they're supposed to act. And when they don't, it upsets the apple cart, so to speak. And so I kind of like that because
where everybody goes.
Yes. And that's one of the problems. And her books I like them because you really have a sense of place, like the house, the people, what's going on, what they're eating, what their rooms are like, what they're doing, drinking, all this good stuff. And I think sometimes some of the current mysteries are light on that type of atmosphere. They're more all about the murder and not about the story. When I interviewed, I can't remember his first name, but House writes his last name. He's a Minnesota author, and he said a good mystery has to have that atmosphere. You have to know more than just the murder.
Yeah.
And I think that really separates those that are really good writers from everybody else.
Well, I think too, for me, like especially if it's in a series, I think the reoccurring characters that you get to know better over every book, like in the cat books, Quilleran, who's the main character, and his cats are great. But then he's got all these friends that he has dinner parties with, or people he knows, and they're the ones that you really look forward to seeing in every book. Mind you, you're starving the entire time you read those
Yes.
books because they're eating such amazing food. But I still think it's those other characters that you fall
Yeah,
in love with.
I think it's the other characters, and you get to know them, and you know kind of their backstory. You know, if they're married, if they have kids, if most of them are always divorced or separated, or some type of tragedy, wife dead.
Well, it's the same with cozy mysteries. Are always better when the main character has a pet.
Yeah,
And it's always some kind of strange. It's like it could be a cat, but it's like a cat that does something weird. Like it either can, like in the Hannah Swenson books, the cat can break into anything and eat all the food. Or like Quilleran's cats help him solve mysteries.
I just read a book that I have to say just made me laugh, and the author is Hannah. I think it's like M.A. Hannah.
Okay.
Something like that. But she has several series, but this one is with a cat, and it's it's about a woman who runs a tea room. She had like a high pressure job in Australia. She's English, and decides she wanted to run a tea room in Oxford. So she comes back, starts her tea room, and of course is a magnet for murder.
Yep.
And is in love with the chief inspector, and so it's Christmas, and he's going to go spend it with his mother, who he's just reconnected with. So her mom volunteers her to cater some children's tea for Christmas. So, and she's got 4 old biddies, she calls them, who sort of follow her.
Yeah.
And this whole crew, it's Christmas, so they just formed a group to sing. Carol, and they were called the 12 Grays of Christmas, which I thought was a very clever name. But only 4 could make this party. And so they end up getting snowbound. And, all sorts of things happen. And so the murder is solved. And what I liked about it is she had to go back and spend Christmas with her parents because they were having family from America.
Oh, okay.
Well, her mom's really hung up on everything being perfect. And she's a twin set cashmere pearl kind of gal. And her father's a professor at Oxford. And the visitors are late, and they show up, and they bring someone nobody seems to know about, and they're all visiting, and all of a sudden this guy's hair starts to move. He's got a big iguana around his neck, and mother almost, and she puts the turkey on the table, and the iguana tries to eat the stuffing, and it's just all hell is breaking loose. And I just laughed and laughed because I thought, oh my. But I will look up and get the right name of that because that was really a fun book. And she's done a bunch of series because I've read more of them.
Yeah.
It's H.Y. Hannah. Hanna.
Okay.
And this one was something about, like, she does gardening books too. Like this one is Too Mulch to Handle. She's got.
I will always love the name of cozy mysteries.
Yeah,
They're
because
just the best.
yeah, they're always kind of fun, I think. But I did think the 12 Grays of Christmas was a really great. Yeah, or Franz from Enemies. A gardening one. Trowel and Terror.
They're great.
But I haven't read any of those, so I
Okay.
can't speak to them. But my guess is that they're probably Doom and Bloom. I think that they're pretty good because they're easy reads. They're something you curl up with a cup of tea in the corner of your couch with a blanket, and it's just fun.
Good. I just finished a book by Pang Shepard. It's called The Cartographers.
Oh, I think is that the one you told us was really good?
Yes, I think I sent out the family message. But so this is our main character's name. Let me double check. I don't want to say it wrong. Nell Young is. So she works right now in a business that makes copies of old maps.
Okay.
She originally had a job at the New York Public Library working under her father, but they got into a huge fight over a map that she found that he said wasn't worth anything, and she said it was. And then she got fired and was sort of a social pariah. So she hasn't talked to her father in, I think it's 8 or 9 years at the point the book starts.
Was the map valuable?
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
So then when she's at work, and so she works in this office with one other guy, and his name is Humphrey, and they're making these copies of maps. And she's like, this isn't really working how she wants to, or she wants to be preserving and all this stuff. But she'll take what she can get because she's still sort of in the business. Well, she gets a call one day, and her father has been found dead at the New York Public Library. So she goes to the New York Public Library and comes across a portfolio that used to be her mother's.
Okay.
Where her mother had died when she was young in a house fire.
Okay.
And so she steals the portfolio, of course, from the New York Public Library, as you do in these novels.
Yes.
And gets home and discovers that the only thing in this portfolio is this map that was supposed to be
fake,
total bunk, and that caused this fight. And not only that, but of course, after she has stolen it, somebody breaks into the New York Public Library looking for this map. And so it follows. So the story goes on to show us, to talk about why this map is important, and it also, so it goes back and forth between this map and then also what's going on that summer before her mother died. And so I would put this in sort of the magical realism category, because there are certain things that happen that can't happen in real life, obviously, so you have the magical aspect there. But I really enjoyed it. It was different than a lot of books I've read recently, and quick read, switches and turns that you don't see coming. There was one person that when they were like, there was one person from their group that was missing, and there was this other character that they kept talking about. I was like, well, I know this is going to hook up somehow. And so there were some things that I could pick out that were going to happen, but there were others I didn't know.
Oh, that was
so that
good
was
then.
good. Yep, and it ended a little different than I thought, but it was all good. I enjoyed it. It was recommended through a girl I follow on Instagram.
Okay.
So it's always fun when people are like, this is a really good book, and you're like, I really hope it's going to be good, and it's not going to be one of these other ones that
Disappointing.
that are going to disappoint me in what I think. But so it's all about maps. I don't know a whole lot about old maps, so there's some stuff at the beginning that they talk about to kind of explain what they're going to be talking about, which I really liked. So, but I don't want to give too much away, because I want everybody to be able to read it and
enjoy
it and not have me have spoiled it for you.
That book I mentioned by H.Y. Hanna is called The Moose Wonderful Time of the Year. Like as in chocolate.
I was going to say, is there like a moose, or like, but the candy moose is good too.
It's like,
but when you said it, I'm picturing like a moose head.
That might have been interesting, but this one has a cat looking at a mouse.
Okay, nice. Anything else you've read?
Oh,
I feel like
goodness, yes, I read constantly. I mean, I've read for like 5 years straight, according to Goodreads or something.
I like those when they pop up like on your Kindle or something, and it's like, you've reached a milestone, and I was like, I wasn't even looking for a milestone, but I'll take it.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I'm just seeing what else I have on my phone here. Discover new books. Well, I don't really need to discover any new books. I need to read the ones I have.
You can never have enough books.
There's a new book out by Karen Baum Menuhin, Menuhin.
Okay.
She does the Lennox series.
Okay.
That I just love. And the new book is, well, let's see. Where did it go? Oh, Karen. I'll look it up. The Birdcage Murders.
Okay. Sure.
And Lennox is now married.
Okay.
He's married to Percy. and Swift, the former inspector, is married to Florence, and they have a little boy named Angus.
Okay.
They live in Scotland. And anyway, Scotland Yard, is that right? Scotland Yard?
Yeah.
They reached out to Swift because they've got a problem. And like 12 years ago, there was a murder. It was called the Birdcage Murder, because these rich woman and man were getting engaged. And there was a family bird cage that they had encrusted with diamonds. And they were going to present it to the couple, and the bird cage blew up and wiped out everybody.
Ah.
And this one has a feel of Murder on the Orient Express by
Agatha Christie?
Yeah, Agatha Christie, because everybody has a connection to someone who died in the blow thing. And so Lennox is always sort of off the rails, and Swift is always trying to pull him back. And it's good because I actually didn't know who did. I mean, I thought I knew who did it. But I just really like her writing, and I was super excited when I saw there was a new one.
Yeah, well, good.
I mean, they're free on Kindle Unlimited. And her next one will be, I just love it because she already is talking about the next one, and this one's been out for like 24 hours. The Wreath of Red Roses.
Okay.
And stuff. And so her books are really fun, and she's got a great following. I think people just enjoy.
Good.
So what else?
Well, we are all done for this episode this week. So we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time. And if you want to reach out to us on Facebook or at our email offtheshelf at booktalk@gmail.com, and we'll see you next time.